You don't want to cross me?
Come back when you've done something evil to impress me.
Minions: The Rise of Gru has been an instant cultural phenomenon from day one from its release at the theaters. The gentle Minions phenomenon isn't something we are prepared for, and it proves how the meme culture can materialize in real action and real income in the real world.
Alright, I'm not Minnie. Please stop calling me that.
With such panorama of instant cultural impact and with the very favorable box office projections in its first week in theaters, all eyes are on these yellow mini villains and their future. It's just a matter of time and money to see if Illumination and Universal are going to keep making Minion movies or if they're gonna pull the plug on their old gold mine. Nah, of course they won't.
Are you pulling on my legs right now?
Right now, it's pretty difficult to talk about the third installment in the Minions franchise since the second movie is barely closing its first week in theaters, but we can start to speculate based on what we see around the internet and how people are perceiving the second movie. There's nothing definitive or official at the moment for this spin-off franchise, but what we've officially confirmed in the horizon is the release of Despicable Me 4 on July 3rd, 2024. And as the two main timelines and both parts of the franchise start to merge, we'll see these movies being more and more indistinguishable from one another, with the important difference on the Minions spin-off focusing on Gru's childhood and his growing as a villain. It's all about money, isn't it? Well, we have to remember this is the business for Illumination and Universal, the two giant companies behind Minions and Despicable Me. Big business. We only need to remember that the first Minions movie back in 2015 made the obscene amount of $1.159 billion, making it reach the fourth place in all-the-time worldwide animated box office. That number sounds crazy, but if we take a look at the current progressions, we'll see, for example, that Minions 2 has already made $164 million in its first week, only in the US. That's almost half of the $366 million Minions made in the US during its whole run in 2015. So yeah, things are looking really good for these companies and their two franchises. This generally positive reception of the movie, along with the positive box office predictions, seems to suggest that the Despicable Me extended universe still has a wide appeal among audiences. Add the key plot developments in Minions 2 that open more possibilities for a continuation, and all the potential bases for a future Minions 3 movie are already in place. Of course, we don't have any official plot details or any other information yet, so it's difficult to make predictions about the cast, but we can only play with the possibilities, discard the obvious rejects, and try to make some hits on the actors that are more predictable to have their characters included in a closing movie of this trilogy to be. In addition to Steve Carell as young Gru and soul of the franchise, we can add the second soul of these movies, Pierre Coffin, who has voiced most of the Minions since the beginning. We could even get a possible return for Alan's Wild Knuckles. After all, he is established as some sort of mentor figure for Gru at the end of Minions 2, and they even drove off into the sunset together. Maybe we'll see other actors returning, like Will playing Mr. Perkins and Steve playing Silas Ramsbottom. They could keep appearing as cameos in future movies. As for the Vicious Six, we think they are completely done and all ready to be forgotten, which is really sad given the absurd amount of talent among these actors who voice them. But there are two reasons for these characters to be cut from the future films. First is the complete lack of charisma and impact these characters have, and secondly, we have continuity since they were incarcerated by the AVL. Oh, and to lead the crew, we think they'll keep making the safe bet of continuing to work with the director Kyle, who has done a great job with these first two movies. Last time, it took a big gap of 7 years to allow this movie to cook up and be distributed to theaters. The long delay between Minions and Minions: The Rise of Gru suggests that there could have been another long gap before the next movie. But we need to keep in mind that we lived through a couple of difficult and quarantine years due to the pandemic, and that had a huge influence on the release schedule and the plans for the franchise. But this has been quenched and unlikely to get worse in the upcoming years, so the most reasonable thing here would be to expect a Minions 3 movie more closely stuck to the original release plan of the franchise, which would have established a 5-year gap between movies. This means that Minions 3 could possibly be hitting theaters in mid-2026. 7. The post-credits scene in Minions 2 is crucial for establishing the possibilities for a trilogy. Gru and the Minions go back to the criminal records to convince their new friend Dr. Nefario to join them on their future villainous endeavors. Nefario says he wants to retire, but the Minions convince him, making cute faces, Puss in Boots style. Nefario accepts and agrees to show Gru something cool. Then the criminal record building opens up like a missile silo or a rocket garage, and it comes out of a ship. What's so special about this? Well, the ship. It is the same one Gru uses on Despicable Me. But more important than the ship is the fact that Nefario starts his journey of commitment to Gru and his ambitions, so we can only guess that we'll see more of this dynamic and the development of their lifelong relationship. We have a wild theory here. Dr. Nefario is not a bit as oblivious as he presents himself and is really a criminal mastermind who will teach Gru a thing or two. But on the other hand, we have Wild Knuckles who offer Gru exactly that kind of mentorship. In Minions 3, we could have a plot that implies some kind of funny war between Nefario and Wild Knuckles to gain Gru's attention and approval as the biggest criminal mastermind as they teach him everything they know about villainry. In this movie, we would see confirmation of Nefario's past conspiracies to destabilize the Vicious Six after what they did to Wild Knuckles with the object of using Gru as a tool to steal the Zodiac Stone and finally overthrow the Vicious Six. This would unite him with Wild Knuckles before he dies of old age and gives him some small inheritance to Gru, which he uses to buy his mansion and build his base of operations along with the Minions. Add a nicer and more compelling villain than this team they use for Minions 2, and there you go. We've got a banger of a Minions movie. Did you already watch Minions: The Rise of Gru? Are you as excited as we are about the endless possibilities this franchise offers right now? We can't wait to see Despicable Me in 2024, and we hope to see more Minion movies as soon as possible. Anyways, that's all for today's video. Check the rest of our channels. We'll be uploading more great content about your favorite movies. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn your notifications on by hitting that little bell if you want to keep receiving awesome content like this.
Oh, nous les pavos, et les cuitas. Ciao, Vero.